Hello, my name is Miss Whelan and I'm one of the Maths School Support Teachers in Scoil. This video is going to talk about fractions and the vocabulary associated with fractions. So what this video will have is the different fractions that are used by the children, the vocabulary of numerator, denominator, equivalent fractions, simplify, proper, improper and mixed fractions. In second class, the children are introduced to fractions in the form of halves and quarters. When they get to third class, they revise halves, quarters, and also introduce eighths and tenths. When they get to fourth class, the fractions thirds, sixths, and ninths are introduced. And then also, they will be looking at hundredths and thousandths in terms of decimals. When we're talking about fractions, you might hear the words numerator and denominator. The numerator refers to the number on the top of the fraction. The denominator refers to the number at the bottom of the fraction. Let's start with equivalent fractions. So the word equivalent means equal. So equivalent fractions are fractions that have equal or the same value. So for example, 2 quarters, 3 sixths and 4 eighths, they are all equivalent fractions because they all have the value of a half. So the children might come across problems in their books that look like this, where we have to convert 1/2 into an equivalent fraction over here. So to make fractions equivalent, we can multiply or divide the numerator and denominator by the same number. So in this example, I can see here 2 goes to 20. And I know that 2 multiplied by 10 gives me 20. So if I multiply the denominators by 10, I can do the same to the numerators on top. Multiply it by 10. So 1 multiplied by 10 is 10. The answer is 10/20ths. In this example, we need to make the equivalent fraction of 4 sixths. So I can see in the denominators that 6 goes to 3. So this time I'm going to divide instead of multiply. So to go from 6 to 3, I have to divide by 2. So whatever we do to the bottom, or the denominator, we have to do to the top, or the numerator. So if I divide the numerator by 2, 4 divided by 2 is 2. My answer is 2/3. Sometimes the children will be asked to simplify a fraction. And simplify means making a fraction as simple as possible. So for example, instead of saying 24/48, I can simplify this fraction and say 1/2. As that is the most simple way to write this fraction. We can simplify fractions by using division, where we divide the numerator and the denominator by the highest common factor, which means that we divide by the biggest number that we can divide both the numerator and the denominator by. So in this case, the biggest number that I can divide 24 and 48 by is in fact 24. If I divide 24 by 24, I get 1. If I divide 48 by 24, I get 2. Let's look at another example. In this example, I need to simplify 9/27. So I'm going to divide the top and the bottom by the highest number that I can divide. So in this case, I know that I can divide 9 by 9 and I can divide 27 by 9. So 9 divided by 9 is 1. And 27 divided by 9 is 3. So I have simplified 9/27 to 1/3. In this one here, I need to simplify 40 hundredths. So I'm going to do that through division by deciding which is the biggest number I can divide into the numerator and the denominator. So I know I can divide 40 by 10, and I know I can divide 100 by 10. And that will give me 4 over 10. But now that I've done that, I see that I can simplify even further, because I can divide 4 by 2 and 10 by 2. So if I simplify again, 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. So my answer is 2/5. So if your child doesn't see the biggest number that they can divide both numbers by, that's okay. They can just pick any number they know that they can divide into the numerator and the denominator, get their answer, and see can they simplify again. And when they can't simplify any further, then that is the most simple form of the fraction and they have their answer. The next thing we will discuss is the vocabulary of proper fractions, improper fractions, and mixed fractions. A proper fraction is a fraction as we usually see them, where the numerator is smaller than the denominator. So the number on the top is smaller than the number on the bottom, like in 1/2, 3/4, and 7/10. Now, improper fractions are where the numerator is larger than the denominator. So that means that the top is larger than the bottom. So for example here, 5/4 or 13/5. We don't leave fractions as improper fractions. So if your child is doing work with fractions and has an answer that is an improper fraction, we convert this to a mixed fraction. And a mixed fraction is a whole number with a proper fraction. To convert from an improper fraction to a mixed fraction, we use division. So for example, 5 divided by 4 is 1. And there's a remainder of 1. I'm going to put this remainder as the numerator, and we always keep the denominator the same. So 5/4 is the same as 1 and 1/4. This is the improper fraction, this is the mixed fraction. Let's try it with 13/5. So again, I'm going to use division. 13 divided by 5, 5 goes 2 times, with a remainder of 3. And I'm going to put that 3, the remainder, as my numerator, and the denominator always stays the same. So 13/5 is the same as 2 and 3/5. This is the improper fraction, this is the mixed fraction. To convert from a mixed fraction to an improper fraction, we do the opposite and we multiply. So for example, 3 and 2/4, I'm going to multiply the whole number by the denominator and then add the numerator. So I multiply the whole number by the bottom and then add the top. So 3 multiplied by 4 is 12, plus 2 is 14, and that's my numerator. And again, the denominator stays the same. So 3 and 2/4 is the same as 14/4. In this one here, 2 and 5/6, we'll do the same thing again. We will multiply the denominator, or the whole number, by the denominator, which is 12, and we'll add the numerator, which is 17. And the answer is 17/6, because again, the denominator stays the same.